Okay, let's see what happens here. I'm recording what I've already recorded. I'm putting it in a YouTube video until we get this resolved from tech support with this Capture Central, this capture encoder. I'm going to try and use
Okay,
this one.
let's see how we did with this one. Now we can see that the image, there's no flash whatsoever, there's no catch lights in the eyes, everything is so dark, but the sky is a little brighter. So in this situation, if you did not have a flash and you had to work like this, which happens many times, what you want to do is meter the sky up here, okay, or excuse me, meter your person here, lock that in. That's what that little star is on your camera. That's the exposure lock button. Meter her face. If you have to move in close, that's fine. If you use spot metering, that's fine. I usually keep it on center weight metering. Lock it in, then recompose your entire image. Okay, then you're going to get an image that looks more like this. This was done with flash. As you can see, we have the catch lights in the eyes here. Okay, everything's nice and evenly lit, but the sky has gotten a lot more brighter. Okay, because you're now metering for this area. Even though the flash is covering it, your metering has changed a little. So as we see this, you're going to notice one thing. You were in one position, which is leaving you with the same distance from the flash to subject in every image. This is where you have to learn, and this is a good exercise with this assignment, knowing the power of the flash. How are you going to set the power? Almost every one of my flash units are set with -1/3, -1/2, -1 stop. And that is because I don't want to have harsh lighting. Here, no flash. Looks like no flash here. We can see the flash again a little lightly. Your ISO, I can't understand what the ISO, I think it's 100 and then 125th, so make sure you separate this because it's very hard to understand. Here's the date, then we go ISO, then 100, it's 1001, and that's not happening. So you're 1/250th of a second, you're all the same. All your exposures are the same because you're changing the flash. Okay, as we start to see the flash power. This is very important to learn because you're going to need this in no matter what. I don't care if you're photojournalism, medical, or any other weddings and stuff, especially weddings, you're going to need this because if you see images that are coming out dark or you're not that far or you're too far, how would you compensate for that? Sometimes you really can't get that close to the subject, and you have to learn how to do that by changing the power. You might have to increase the power of the flash if you can't close in on the distance. So those are some of the little tricks of the trade that we see. This is way too dark, as you can see. You're at f8.0, you've closed down. Here 4.5, you're opening up. Here you're 5. Now, one question I have here, and you can respond as an answer. Why is it that this is 4.5 and this is 5.0, but this one is actually darker? This should be brighter, having more light coming in. This is 5.0. You open up a little half stop here, you're letting more light in, which should be this one. So either you mixed up these apertures here, or you change the flash setting on that. Okay, because there's a difference there. All right, but otherwise, not too bad as long as you're learning with this exercise of how to use a flash. This one works well. Okay, this one also, again, you got catch lights, everything's nice and even, but you need to also understand. I'm going to go back down to this one here inside now. We saw the outside ones. You also have to understand when you use flash, make sure that you use something to soften the flash. The bounce, card, something like that that's going to make it nice and soft because you don't want the harsh lighting effects in there. Here, so you have a little bit of spot on the nose and spot on the forehead, okay, with that flash. And if you bounce that or use a card or soften it up, you won't really have those little highlights on the person's face as I'm going through here with the interior shots. Okay. Living room flash techniques, yep, understandable inside. But I would try and use a different type of reflector or bouncer flash on my flash unit. Index card, use a rubber band on there, something like that, or get an actual soft box, small ones that go on top of the flash. Another way to do it, very cheap, you get a couple of tissues and you put them over the flash with a rubber band. White tissue, that way you don't cast the color. Okay, one of the other tricks I told Herb in an outside situation, I'm going back out here, the color is pretty cold. It's a very cool color. It looks like the sun wasn't out that day. one way to make it look like the sun was out, and let's say you do weddings or something, is put a little piece of yellow gel on top of the flash. That'll give it a warm color, a warm tone that you may need at times. I've always kept that in my bag as well. But overall, you didn't do too bad on this. I'm glad that you're experimenting with the flash. You can see the very significant differences that you have for every one of your shots. But you also have to understand when you flash, if it doesn't work, what are you going to do? You need to make this right here look like this right here. And sometimes you have to do it without flash. If your flash should go out and you're shooting a job, what if you're shooting a wedding and the flash doesn't work, or the hot shoot on the camera breaks? You can't use any flash. Then what do? You're going to have to be able to shoot that entire job knowing how to get this from this by aperture, shutter, and ISO. Okay, so these are some of the things I want you to look into. Overall, not too bad on this.